I'm going to take you back to the last century, actually 16 years, to 1999. As that's when I first arrived in China. Now, when I say China, I actually arrived in Macau, which is a nice, gentle introduction to the cultural change. It's a mixture of the West and a mixture of the East. Very nice. However, in the first week, I traveled over the border into the Guangdong province to meet one of our joint venture partners there. I was introduced to some very, very strange foods that I'd never eaten before, never even seen before in England. I was introduced to Chinese alcohol, baijiu, and I drank a lot of it. I was even persuaded to drink some snake bile. Mr. Clark, it's your first visit to China. It's the done thing. So I drank some. And I was introduced to the Chinese Communist Party. Now let me tell you that this was a cultural shock. What am I doing here? How am I going to manage this? However, over the next few weeks and months, I started to travel into China a lot more. I started to realize that between the French and the Chinese, there are many, many similarities. Both countries are very proud of their long and fascinating history. They both have very nice foods and are proud of their very beautiful cuisine. They also do business in a similar way, in a collaborative way, in partnership, looking for a win-win solution. I quickly adapted to this. I became partly Chinese. I like to think that today I'm a mix of a European and a Chinese. Over the next few years, my colleagues and I visited many, many cities throughout China, looking for projects. The map you can see is not the air routes of Air China or Dragonair. I don't think they actually visit that many cities. But we visited 60 or 70 or more cities throughout China, looking for partners in the environment business. And we were successful. We managed to create businesses in water and in waste. I'm going to take you back a little bit further, 40 years, to 1975. Why? Because in 1975, one of our subsidiaries, de Gremont, entered the Chinese market and started to build a water treatment plant in the Henan province. Now, can you imagine in 1975, the Cultural Revolution was still underway. Mao Zedong was leading the country, Chairman Mao. Can you imagine being a foreign company coming into China at that time? We were a pioneer, one of the very first international companies working in China. And from that base, we have now grown into a very successful environment company in China. China represents a very important position in the international market of SUEZ environment. And we've managed, throughout those 40 years, in specific ways. The first method is concrete. Now, when I say concrete, I mean measurable, actual projects, real actions. In China now, we have 8,000 employees. 99.9% of those employees are Chinese. We supply water to 20 million people. That's more than we supply in France. We actually supply water services to more people in China than we do in our home country of France. We have constructed more than 220 water and sewage treatment plants throughout China, from Daqing in the north to Sanya in the south, from Urumqi in the west to Shanghai in the east. We have constructed and are managing the largest hazardous waste incinerator plant in China. It's in Shanghai. And we're also managing two of the largest and most modern landfill facilities in Hong Kong. I want to move on to a different method of managing. We call it circular. I'm going to use some examples to show you what we mean by circular management. This is Suzhou, very rich city in the Jiangsu province. It's rich because it has lots of people and it has lots of industry. This is a sludge treatment plant that we have constructed. Suzhou has a good sewage treatment system, but it produces sludge. Sludge needs to be disposed of. It was being disposed of into the environment and it was having an impact. But we decided that we had to build a sludge treatment plant and we would build the best, the most environmentally friendly. Now, we actually constructed this treatment plant next to a power station. To dry sludge, to treat sludge properly, you need energy. Power stations produce excess energy. In this case, they produce steam. We take the steam, we use that energy to dry the sludge, and we dry the sludge to 90% dry solids, by which time it has the same calorific value as coal. And we sell the dried sludge to the power station. So we take a waste product and we produce a resource. And every year, that action saves the equivalent of 17,000 tons of coal every year. A waste to a resource, a circular action. We're now going to Taiwan, the southern city of Kaohsiung, where we operate a large municipal waste incinerator plant that accepts about 1,300 tons of municipal waste every day. But it's not just a waste incineration plant, it's a waste to energy plant. In fact, most of the revenue doesn't come from the treatment of the waste. It comes from the production of electricity from that plant. As we treat the waste, it produces energy and we produce electricity. And every year, the amount of energy we produce saves 157,000 tons of coal. So once again, a waste to a resource. Let's now go to Shanghai, to a very, very large petrochemical plant called SKIP. It houses some of the largest international companies, such as BP, BASF, Bayer, Mitsubishi. It also houses very large Chinese companies, like Sinopec, Huai, Tianyuan. I'm told that this park is that big, it actually produces 7% of the entire GDP of Shanghai. It's enormous. And we are there, we supply all of the water services, and we treat the waste. One in particular I want to talk about is the production of demineralized water, also known as ultra-pure water. Now, normally, to produce ultra-pure water, you would use drinking water as the resource to put into that system. We don't. We actually use, as the raw product, treated sewage that would normally be discharged into the China seas. So we take a waste product and we produce a resource. And every year, that action saves the equivalent of 580,000 cubic meters of water. I want to move on to the third type of action that we undertake. It's collaborative. Very, very important. Wherever we go in China, we work in partnership. We now have 34 joint ventures, all of which we are there working with our local partners, the government or the company. We also have 3 laboratories where we operate together with the local partners. We also have strong links with universities throughout China, in particular, Tsinghua University here in Beijing and Tongji in Shanghai. We finance some of the R&D of those universities, and every year we take some of the students who are interested in the environment industry and we train them. Some of them we send to France. We train them in France and we bring them back here to work with us in the environment industry. We are at a critical time at the moment. The world's resources are reducing, and the population of the world will increase. There is a figure that in the next generation, the world's population will increase by 2 billion people. We have to change the way we manage resources. There has to be a resource revolution. And our company will be in the middle of that revolution. And we will continue to act in a concrete, a circular, and a collaborative way, because that's in our DNA. That's how we operate, and it's successful. So what about the future? I'm going to give you one more example. We're going to move to Hong Kong. Now, every day, Hong Kong produces more than 1,000 tons of food waste. That food is disposed of in the environment, and it can have a negative impact. Now, the Hong Kong government want to change that. They want to treat it properly. And they have entrusted us to be the first company that will construct a treatment plant to treat that waste food. Now, every day, we will take 200 ton of food waste, and we will treat it using an anaerobic digestion method. Now, that will produce a gas. Now, that gas we will use to generate electricity. And every year, that action will produce 14 million kilowatt hours of electricity. And that will be distributed to Hong Kong. It will be enough to supply 3,000 homes. And the food, after it's gone through the treatment process, it will be reduced, and it will actually be formed into fertilizer. And every year, we will produce 7,300 ton of fertilizer that can be transferred to the farmers to use on the land. So once again, we have taken a waste and produced resources. This is a desalination plant. As we are all aware, some parts of China have water problems. The Chinese government are doing a lot. They are transferring water from the south to the north. But there will still be areas where desalination is necessary. SUEZ Environment is the leading company in the world in desalination. We are already managing plants and have constructed plants in Spain, in Australia, in the Middle East, and we are ready to do that in China. But when we construct desalination plants, we have people in our headquarters in Paris working on the design of this. So our desalination plants use the minimum amount of energy possible. So, we are at the beginning of a resource revolution. What are we going to do? We have to operate in a more efficient manner. We have to operate together. From today, all of the international brands of SUEZ Environment, and there are many of them, de Grammont, Sita, Lyonnaise des Eaux in France, Agbar in Spain, United Water in North America, and Ondio in the industrial sector. As from today, they will all be coming together under one simple company, SUEZ Environment. We are doing that to be more efficient, to be more clear for our customers and our clients, and to better manage the world's resources. So please, join me in the resource revolution. Thank you.